Homegrown is brought to you by South Dakota soybean farmers through their soybean checkoff.
When feeding cattle, soybean meal is probably not the first thing that comes to mind. But in this segment of Homegrown, we take a look at research being conducted that could change that.
We used to feed more soy, pre-ethanol era.
Feeding soy to cattle is not nearly as common as it used to be in previous decades. But research being conducted at South Dakota State University, funded through South Dakota soybean growers' checkoff dollars, could change that.
And so, using soy protein, really kind of went by the wayside. Well, if you hang around long enough, everything old becomes new again. And so now we're in a world where corn products are not as cheap as they used to be. We've partly because we've done a better job of figuring out what their value is, and we value it accordingly. As things change, geopolitically and everything else with renewable diesel, now all of a sudden we're starting to have more crush capacity. So there's some possibility of greater availability of solvent extracted soybeans.
So far, the research has shown promising results when it comes to feeding cattle soybean meal.
First study we did, we fed conventional soybean meal to some cattle off grass, cattle that we wouldn't necessarily expect to have a really high need for supplement, for high quality protein. They're older, a little more mature, and we saw some really, really dramatic responses early on in that experiment.
Not only could feeding more soybean meal help with the rancher's bottom line, it could also benefit the state's ag industry as a whole.
It's kind of an exciting period where we think we're getting to take a look at something that's new and novel and could really change our understanding of how to optimize cattle growth. I'm a near lifelong South Dakotan, so also it's exciting for me because we grow a lot of soybeans here. We raise a lot of cattle here. We put the two together like we've done with the corn ethanol industry. We put the two together and all of those industries together, and we start now improving the economic conditions in rural South Dakota. That's my friends and family and neighbors.
Going forward, education about feeding soybean meal is of the utmost importance, especially for younger individuals in the cattle industry.
There's a little bit of skepticism, mostly because, as we talked about here in Brookings, there's a whole generation of nutritionists that have never fed cattle that weren't fed distillers. If you go back, you'd have to get back, into the 90s or maybe even a little before to get to a period where distillers' use wasn't common. And so it's like the security blanket. It's what we always feed. And so that's what they're familiar with. We're so thankful that the folks at the South Dakota Soybean Council saw fit to, about 3 or 4 times now, support us with some of the checkoff dollars to explore this opportunity.
There will be more information about research on soy products and finishing cattle at the Siouxland Feedlot Forum being held on June 17th.
Thanks for watching AgweekTV on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. We put out new videos every Saturday.